All right, so since it's summer, I know we talked about, discussing a sort of summer heat-related article. So here's just a really short clip from NPR, which is very popular here. I know you've listened to some of their podcasts or read some of their news articles, but like I said, just a real short one. And actually, I accidentally was cutting off the title. Sorry. So heat making you lethargic. Research shows it can slow your brain too. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Quick
So just
question.
a few sentences. Yeah.
What does a lethargic mean?
Yeah. So lethargic, can you take any kind of guesses at lethargic?
It's kind
Because
of tired or exhausted.
yeah, that's perfect.
Oh,
Kind of,
really?
yeah, almost not the same as lazy because there's kind of, there's a reason behind it, but lethargic, you just have no energy. Like you said, you feel very kind of just like a blob.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about you, but for me, heat. So if it's really hot, I usually don't have a lot of energy. How about you?
Yeah, I get super exhausted, especially when it gets really humid at the same time. I
Right.
don't know. In Colorado, it's not as humid as, in South Korea, but still gets super dry. But yeah,
Yeah, the weather is almost opposite because it's so dry here, but the
right.
temperature is still pretty hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we can actually, here, I'm going to write it down so you can see it. But there's an expression called, sap. Oops, it's not working. My apologies. It's not clicking. Okay, so sap your energy.
Oh,
So heat can kind of sap your energy. It just like takes all the energy away and you feel lethargic. So,
to sap your energy.
mhm. So, it doesn't obviously have to be it could be sap, anybody's energy, but sap energy.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just say, oh, it sapped my energy or it sapped her energy, however you want to phrase it. But all right, so we'll just dive into this for a little bit. I'm going to highlight. So here, you want to read the first couple sentences?
Yeah, of
Just to kick
course.
it
Sure.
off?
Can't cool off this summer. Heat waves can slow us down in ways we may not realize. Do you want me
Yeah,
to stop right there or do you want me to keep reading?
that's perfect. Yeah, just the first couple sentences. Thanks. So, all right, cool off is one of them, right? So in summer, if you're feeling really hot and maybe lethargic and miserable, one of your goals can be to cool off, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what are some ways that you like to cool off in the summer? Some helpful strategies.
Hmm. Drinking lots of kombuchas. These days, we are super into making kombuchas at home and drinking it.
Mhm.
Um, what else? And eating really good ice cream.
Always.
Yeah, those kind of things I think that can cool things up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. And those are good examples. I know for me, you said kombucha, and I agree. And then also just kind of sparkling water that's cold, something about the carbonation in the water kind
Mm-hmm.
of helps you feel like you're cooling off a little bit more, maybe.
Right.
And then I see sometimes people, out on walks, they'll hose down maybe their dog or something, or even a child. Like kids like to play in with the hose,
Mm-hmm.
out in the yard, and that's a way to cool off too.
Hmm.
So those are good strategies. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah. And then sitting inside with the air conditioner is always a strategy too. So
Absolutely. Yep,
probably one of the most common ones.
yep.
So new research. Do you want to read that sentence, please?
Yeah, absolutely. New research suggests heat stress can model our thinking, making simple math a little harder to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the words that I wanted to pull out of here, and thank you for reading, was
Mm-hmm.
muddle. So you can, for instance, if your thinking is being muddled, and this kind of, again, I'm going to scroll up for just a sec. It relates to, it can slow your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when your thinking is muddled, do you think it is like it's easy to think clearly, or it's more challenging? It's hard to have a train of thought? What are your thoughts about what this might mean?
Probably slow down our thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, because here it gives an example, right? It says making simple math a little harder to do. So even
Right.
something that should be simple
Mm-hmm.
is just a little bit harder. It's harder to process.
Okay.
So Muddle basically means to kind of confuse or make it more challenging, right? To think clearly in this case. So if your thinking is muddled, you're not really having clear trains of thought. If that
Okay.
yeah.
Makes sense.
So what's something else that could maybe muddle thinking? So heat can muddle thinking, weather. What about any
What
other?
about drinking?
Yeah.
When you get intoxicated, it's really hard to think things.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alcohol, drugs, all those things. And then for me also just being really tired. I don't know about you, but
Right.
I don't think
Exactly.
clearly. Yeah, when I'm tired. So
Right. Insomnia, right?
well, I have insomnia kind of, but just in general, like let's say you only sleep for a few hours, usually it feels almost foggy, you know, you don't think
Right.
super clearly. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So last one that I wanted to talk about briefly. So you don't need to read the whole thing, but if you just want to read this part in quotes only, that'd be
Okay. Gotcha. There's evidence that our brains are susceptible to temperature abnormalities.
yeah. So there's some longer words in here. So susceptible here, and the C is silent, right? So are susceptible to, and then temperature abnormalities.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, you did a good job. Just
So
a
like a
just a note that the C is kind of silent here. Okay,
so there's no C sound. So susceptible.
perfect. Yeah,
Okay, susceptible. Okay, no C. Not susceptible, right?
right. You
Okay.
were good the first time. Susceptible.
Mhm.
So there's evidence that our brains are susceptible to, and then whatever you want.
Temperature abnormalities.
Mhm.
Okay.
But if you're susceptible to something,
Mhm.
then do you have an idea of maybe what that means?
Probably like
It's hard to explain, but is there
right.
anything come to mind?
Kind of your brains are vulnerable to temperature abnormalities. Vulnerable.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah, it's susceptible to, so it can be vulnerable to is a good synonym, or it can also just be, easily affected by or just affected by,
Mhm.
which is the same basically as what you said too. It's just
Right.
another way to explain it.
Mhm.
So if the temperature is abnormal, it's swinging around, it's not normal, then our brain is easily affected by that, right?
Oh, okay.
So it
Good to know.
muddles our thinking. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they got this important person at Harvard University, because whenever articles include, Stanford or Harvard, then people automatically, it kind of gives credibility.
Right.
Yes.
So I have a quick question. What do you think of the photo on the left? So like it seems like the person in the brain is holding some, it looks like a compass, right? I don't know.
I think it's a temperature dial.
Oh, that is temperature dial. Okay.
It does look kind of like a compass, you're right. But I think here, based on the content in the article, it's more likely a temperature gauge. Like if you use an oven or sometimes like an older thermostat, you know how you kind of actually how hot or how cool you want it. You can
You
move
can
that.
adjust. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what this is probably showing here.
Oh, okay. So when you get hot and then your brain starts doing something. Anyways.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It's a good question. So, yeah, and then here is the depressing news that our generation faces, right? So as climate is changing, these temperature abnormalities are becoming even more frequent.